What's up, everyone? I'm Danny.
Marcy.
And Robert, and welcome to
Let's Talk Theater, the podcast.
Do we have to say that every single time?
We didn't do it right the last time.
I mean,
Does it have to be right?
whatever.
This morning, I was coming to work, right? Like I was wearing work clothes.
So like your paint
Like my
pants.
paint pants, my long sleeve
Denim
shirt,
button-downs.
you know, like all
Your
that stuff.
bandana.
Like it literally looked like I was about to come and paint and do all this stuff and like hard work, right? But because it was cold, I was layering up. Then I realized as I was walking out that we were recording. So I had to wear something solid and I had to go back in and change. And that pushed me like 5 minutes later than like getting here to clock in and stuff like that. So I almost clocked in late. And it made me think about morning routines and how our morning routines kind of like take over and encompass what we're gonna do that day. And sometimes these decisions are like made without us knowing that we're gonna do these things. And if one slight thing goes different, that kind of just throws your morning routine off.
Yeah.
Do y'all like?
So maybe it's not good to have a morning routine?
Oh.
So do you not have a morning routine?
I mean, it changes every now and then. Sometimes it's don't do anything and then get dressed and leave. Or it's I'm gonna meditate and, you know, do breath work and exercise.
How early do you wake up?
Because I'm old, 6. Not because I'm like trying to be better than everybody, but I already feel like that. Just waking up at 6.
Oh my
Because
God.
it's not
Okay,
hard.
when you say old, like how old are you? Because not that many people know how old
I'm
you
not
are.
gonna say how old I am. Whatever you
Never ask
think.
a lady how old she
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, right.
No,
Contrary to popular belief, I am a woman. I know people call me sir. That's fine. At least it's a respectful title, you know.
it is. It is. So
whatever.
6. How early do you wake up?
6:30.
6:30?
Yeah, 6:30.
So I'm better than you.
Guys,
Okay.
guys.
Oh my God.
Danny,
I'm like a 6:45, 7 kind of girl.
I don't believe that.
Only because, no, I'm serious.
I feel like you're a 7:35.
No, you think that, but I do have a morning routine.
Okay.
You think that because I have dogs, so like the
Right.
first thing
yes.
that
Oh
happens
yeah.
is like
we all have dogs.
my dogs wake me
Dogs.
up. Specifically one, Cosmo. He wakes me up. He gives me kisses. It's literally how I start every day, right? With positivity,
Aw.
right? It's so lame, but like I always hug him because I'm like, I love you, and you literally like make my day every morning, right? So that's the first thing for sure is get smothered by my dog.
Am I the only one who has a dog that does not wake them up? Like I have to drag her out of bed.
No.
Really? Yeah,
No,
well,
my
your dog's also
dog's
like a
like,
drama queen.
let's go.
So.
What?
So then I do take them out to pee, right? Then they go pee. Sometimes they don't want to pee. Sometimes they just take forever to pee.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's too cold to pee.
Yeah, and you're the crazy person outside going, could you please go to the hurry
I
up?
also try to
Dustin?"
like give them their space. So like I'll let them go outside and I'll try to do like other things because that's just how I work. Like I try to double up on like what I'm doing. So like my morning routine is pre-planned from the night before. So like I always
Damn.
No, I like to be surprised.
Yeah. No, that's just how I am. So like my morning routines, that's why I wake up so
Holy.
late so that like I have more time to sleep and less time to like, oh, I need to get my chia thing and I need to get my coffee and I need to get my outfit and like I always kind of pre-plan. I'm just a pre-planner. That's just me.
I didn't put my overnight oats in the fridge last night.
Yeah, it just throws everything off.
Do you guys drink coffee at home and then go to Starbucks after also,
When it's
like
one
I
of
do?
those days.
If I have some, yes.
You have some. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Because I like
what do you
making
mean
my
by
own
have
cold
some?
brew.
Like, do you
Because
make
I'll
like
make
cold
my
brew?
own cold brew at home. And
I
I buy
do too.
I buy the little baggies and I
Yeah.
put it in the cold water. I leave it overnight or 24 hours and it's ready. But sometimes like, you know, you get lazy and you don't put it in there. So like, yeah, when I have some, I'll that's why sometimes I have my cup and I'm drinking something. It's just that I make a little bit of coffee in there
Just to-
and then I just throw the rest back.
But why
in
do you
there.
go to both? Like I know, like all 3 of us I know, we make coffee at home. We also make our own cold brew sometimes or buy it or whatever. But we also have to go to Starbucks.
Right.
I don't know. It's
Why both? Like, you know, you feel like some people are only at home or only at Starbucks.
I think it's two things. One, because I like coffee and I don't care if I need to spend on it, but I have to drink it in the mornings and in the afternoons and all day. So my thing is coffee, beer, and water, right? So that's all I
Robert,
drink.
please, we're a club.
That's all I drink, right? So keep hydrated, obviously, and Gatorade. Yeah, like I need to have coffee, and I don't care spending on it because it's one of those things that it's like treat yourself, you know, like.
I'm an adult. I
yeah.
can spend my money on whatever I
Yeah,
want.
yeah, I worked for it, you know,
Right,
so
yeah.
like why not? And
That's usually what I yell when I'm trying to like, or somebody's
Yeah.
telling me not to buy stuff. I'm like, why are you spending on that? Because I'm an adult. Like,
Yeah.
what do I work for?
Yeah.
What do I work for?
yeah,
So going to Starbucks is more like a ritual, right?
yeah.
So
It
not
is, yeah.
necessarily like, you know, because you need coffee from there. I mean, it is, I feel, really good coffee. I know a lot of people are like, ooh, anti-Starbucks.
Right.
It's like, actually, no. If you get the regular coffee, it's actually really, really good coffee.
Yeah,
I just
there's
like coffee.
misconceptions.
There's misconceptions
In
about
general.
Starbucks. Starbucks sponsor us, what?
I think that our guests might have a couple things to say about these
coffee,
things,
the
morning
king of
routines, coffee.
Coffee?
No, I just noticed
that what he
because
calls
like
himself?
no, like I always like I've known him forever, right? And I always like would see him with like coffee in hand, right? But other thing like that I discovered through him was like the Starbucks Gold card, and I always thought
my
he was
God, when that
like,
was a thing.
oh
The
wow! I
first
was like,
one.
wow, like
Starbucks Gold
how do you
card.
get the Starbucks Gold card? Like I want the Starbucks Gold card. But I think yeah, let's introduce him. So let's give Joel Garza a round of applause. Yay!
I'm so happy to be here.
Hey Joel.
Hi, Joel.
Thank you guys. Hi, how is everybody?
So how did you get this gold card?
Okay, so the gold card was because I went to Starbucks and I still go to Starbucks way too often. And that is not necessarily my best trait, but I love it. And it's like
Likewise.
now it's like all about the points. The gold card has become the points, and like I get very upset if I like lose the points. So
Did
I've
you
been
like
trying to
that they
use them.
added like you could put your debit card directly
Oh my god,
in there?
that's like lethal.
Right.
It is
though.
lethal,
It's like
yeah.
it's just
It's
going.
dangerous.
It's
But
so
then it's
bad.
like, oh, you only get 1 star
Endless.
versus 2 stars
Exactly.
if you load the imaginary card.
It's a vicious cycle. It's like
Yeah.
almost like you know you should.
But then like you
you
rationalize it by saying, well, I'm gonna go anyway.
Yes.
Might as well use it.
And then
Yeah.
when your coffee's like less than $3 for a venti, because like I do
Regular
the
coffee,
same
yeah.
brew, it's easy to be like, it's okay, I
Yeah.
can do this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not spending $7 on coffee.
Oh,
Yeah, and
Yes.
people forget that it's like, oh, Starbucks is so expensive. And it's like, well, if you get the regular coffee, it's actually not. I've been to local coffee shops and you get their regular coffee and it's more expensive than
Yeah.
Starbucks
Yeah.
regular coffee.
Yeah.
So don't
I have
tell me that
encountered
Starbucks
that.
is more expensive. It's not.
I
Yeah.
think I also love the rewards thing. Like if I see that I can use, you know, like 150 on my like, it's like, oh, better.
Okay.
I need $1. You know, like, oh my god, like.
Now,
Yes.
if you want to spend on the pumpkin spice or the
Go for
peppermint,
it.
then go for it, but don't complain.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, it becomes a whole thing
Maybe
after
get
that.
a cheaper drink. 'cause
Yeah,
drinks
totally.
can get
It's a matter of
expensive.
choice.
So another thing, Joel, that we were talking about, maybe you can talk about that too, is
Maybe.
morning routines. Like, what do you do in the morning?
You're a morning
I
person.
am
You look like you
You're
have
a
a very
morning
intense
person.
morning.
like a very intense regimen. No, honestly, I am up by 7 o'clock no matter what. I can be on or off that day, and I still have to be up at 7. Last night was like a weird night because we're obviously like Donald Trump is in town today. He's
What?
here to visit me before he
Visit
leaves
you.
office.
Yeah.
No,
He was
so
like,
I'm
Joel,
nervous
can I
'cause the
come
house
and
has to be
see you?
clean and
So like after this podcast interview.
No, but like last night, I was very nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, he's coming. And then after everything that happened last week, it's just been like, oh gosh. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was like
it's
laying
scary.
in bed thinking about that. And I still 7 o'clock. Like I was, I
Wow.
think I finally got to sleep at like 3. And at 7 o'clock, I was like up and I was like sending emails, which it has to be like the first thing I do because I'm like very like regimented with my students, and I tell them like I'm gonna meet you guys halfway, but meet me halfway, and they expect certain things. So
So I think that's like perfect segue into like what do you do, Joel? What do you do?
True. So I am first a lecturer at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley in communication studies. So My first master's degree is in theater, so the other half of my life, and probably like the other 75% of my life, is devoted to AllStar Theatre and the AllStar Kids Club. And so I created those companies in 2012. And that has like slowly grown and evolved in like many different forms. And I think we now finally have a form that like I love and I'm very comfortable with. Which also gives me the flexibility to be able to do the other thing that I really want to do, because my second master's degree is in communication. And so I'm able to explore that life and work with adults during the week at the university, and then work with kids over the weekend at AllStar. So it's been like a very cool like blend of two worlds that really do coexist in many ways.
What's the difference between working with adults and working with children? Because I only get to work with adults, and I kind of love it. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to beat around the bush and say I love to work with kids. I don't know. I don't know about that. So what is the difference? Is there one that you prefer?
I think the benefit of working with adults is that you can talk to an adult the way you would talk to an adult. You cannot talk that way to a child, and that's understandable. And I have to stretch into like the recesses of my mind to find analogies or like things that make it work for kids, because like sometimes you're like, I just need this to happen, and they don't get it because they haven't had those life experiences. The interesting thing that comes up here is that, so I teach a course in pedagogy, which talks about like childhood development, but also andragogy, which is like adult education. And so adults have to be passionate about what they're learning. They have to care about it, because they're not going to learn for the sake of learning. Children are the reverse. Children are sponges, so they will learn for the sake of learning, right? And everything is new and it's different, but they also don't have those life experiences to build on like you have with adults at the university. And so that's one of the things that I love, is seeing adults make those connections and start like jiving with the material, because you can tell that means that they're interested and they care. So those are like the primary differences, aside from the fact that you also have to deal with the child's representative. So that's a big difference.
Forgot about that.
The adult represents themselves, usually, right?
Typically. There have been a couple of instances where my adult students have brought their parents to my office.
Oh,
That's interesting.
Luckily, that has not happened to me yet. I hope it never happens.
You're very lucky.
But then again, I feel like you hear about like other departments in like a college setting or a university setting, and they have like problem students, and it's like, we're in college, why are we having these problems? But then I feel like I don't get those people, because they're kind of filtered out, because in our area or in my area, you get people who want to take that class. They're not required. Like your classes are required for most people, right?
For the most part.
And for me, it's like a choice. Like you have to take a humanities class, and if they choose to be there, chances are they're not really going to be a problem. Like, not that I haven't had like some issues with some people, but it's never really anything that's like really
or they're not your
horrible,
student, they're randos.
Yeah, they're just random people, or whatever. But I like being shielded from those issues.
I get that.
Being in like a little specialty area, right?
Totally. And that is the benefit.
That is the benefit.
I agree with that, because sometimes I'm not a full-on teacher, right? But like
you still have to deal
your
with
aid,
students,
per se, in all of your classes, and it's nice working with adults. Because you can be real with them.
Yes.
And you can just be like black and white. You in or you're out. Like. And honestly, like, because like they're paying for it, And as far as with kids, it's like a difficult.
The
thing.
representative is like, hey,
the representative.
I'm paying
you're
for
going.
I like that. The representative.
Yeah.
But then you
That's
try
a good one.
explaining
It's a nice
that to them.
gender-neutral term.
You try
But
explaining that to them, and they're like,
and I think also for y'all in the humanities, like in many ways, you're the first boss that some of these people have.
Oh yeah.
So you're having to like filter out these behaviors of like showing up late or like just being on their phone and stuff like that. And I see this a lot at the university, a lot of the students don't have like a life experience in terms of a job. And that's tough, because then they don't understand, like when you get out in the real world and you do have a job, these are the do's and the don'ts, and they don't get that. So I'm pretty sure that's what you guys deal a lot with here.
And it's a conversation that I think we've had before, where theater teaches life
Skills.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And all these life skills are totally forgot about And then later you're having to like
Relearn
do
them.
these
yeah,
things.
Danny's famous story of having to relearn how to sweep in college. Where? In theater.
That
theater.
wasn't even like, okay, that was a learning experience, but my professor put me on blast and I was embarrassed. But I learned my lesson, again, because I'm an adult.
Yeah.
And, you know, and this was...
And we only learn through shame.
Yes, right? Like, I guess
Actually, obviously not. A lot of
that's
people
how they
don't
do
learn
it.
that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't work
Just kidding.
for everyone.
But it was a learning experience for me because I was put on blast, and there is a certain way, folks, of sweeping a stage, and I was doing it wrong. I'm sorry, like, I'm Mexican. You tengo like a little escolita, and like that's just how I go, you know. But these were the
Push
like,
brooms.
you know,
Yeah.
and
Sorry, my mother didn't use these.
like,
Yeah.
sorry, not easy.
I would
you do it?
never have pegged you for that though. Like you're so
It
like
was-
clean
It
and
was
like
kind of. I honestly think he was just trying to like mansplain
Ugh.
in that sense of like there wasn't a lot of students in the class that day, and I just think he was like off that morning, and then just like saw my silly ass like just. And I was kind of being silly, but like not to the point where like you need to like also tell me I'm doing it wrong. It's just like come up to me and be like, hey, like. You're not doing it right.
Yeah.
And also chill.
And a lot of our students do come back and say, guys, you guys taught me a lot.
You're right.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, like just in painting and building things and how to use a hammer and how to use a saw, just basic knowledge that later, if the world would collide,
Collapse.
these collapse.
Yeah, you'd be able to.
These folks would still swim, you know, because they're able to. Guess what? I can build a little hut and just stay under there for a little while, you know, like. So I feel like that is very gratifying as a teacher when you know that your students are taking life skills and putting them to use.
Yeah.
We've also had students that come back and say, like, you guys are the ones that taught me things. I'm not learning over there, you know, and stuff like that. So that's also a really big, like, we're doing good moment type thing.
That's true.
I don't think there's any other department that does what the theater does. I mean, the students will learn public speaking skills, negotiating skills, building and you know, simple cleaning, but then also like presentation skills and being able to communicate in the audience and with people and at the box office and you know, prepping for a show and all that stuff. Like all these things that like are very applicable in pretty much every profession or every facet of life. And those are the things that you get taught in the theater. I mean, I always say this, sports is great because it teaches you how to be like a team player or it teaches you how to be goal focused. But I don't, besides being the physical aspect of it, I don't know what the other benefits are associated with that other than just those three primary things.
And other than winning, right?
Yeah,
'Cause it's
which is
just
great,
like winning
but-
or losing, where it's like
That kind of doesn't really help.
exactly.
Having that very, very rigid, like you win,
Black
you
or white.
lose.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about. It shouldn't be about that.
No.
Not that we're knocking sports or whatever, because
Yeah.
you know we're not.
No, we love
No,
sports.
but I
But I
also
think
see.
the-
I also see how football is what I'm trying to get at. Is like so like cherished and like so
Yeah.
like
It's America's sport.
dude,
Yeah.
yeah, and like the world shut down, but not the NFL.
Yeah.
Like they're still going at it, and it's like
Throwing footballs at each other.
Yeah.
You know, like,
to just sports. Like you're right. Like it
But
not
also
to
we forget
discredit
that
them,
these
but it's
that
like,
these things are
damn.
very theatrical. People forget. That
Yeah,
they're
there's a
theatrical.
ceremony to them.
They have
Right.
costumes.
there's a whole
Right.
halftime.
They have a
That's the
stage.
show.
You know, their playbook is their.
They roll
script.
on a
Yeah.
stage.
I mean, honestly, everything kind of like functions the same way.
It does.
but-
It does.
Yeah.
But I do believe, and when people ask, like, you know, what's the benefit of theater? I don't think there's an endless. I mean, I think the benefits are endless.
Yes,
You know what I
they
mean? Like, whereas you can pretty much segment, you know, music is this, this, and this, and dance is this, and this. But theater is just like everything.
It's like it's life. How
And
life
I
is
think a lot of that
stereotypical.
stems from the fact that like we kind of often get the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
And that's
people are
the
just
biggest
like-
thing that we
Yeah.
learn is problem solving.
Yes.
Quickly and
Oh my
efficiently.
God, yes.
Because you typically don't have the funding and you typically
Yeah.
don't have the
Because
resources.
it's like, that's what we were talking about last time, right? There's always a problem every step of the way, and it's always like having to figure out how to get over
Yes.
this problem And it's like every time you solve one, there's going to be a new one.
We
Yeah.
also bring up like whenever you tell someone that like you do theater, and then it's the whole like.
Are you an actor?
You're an actor.
No.
You act. You
Do you have any idea how?
That's
like,
just one person.
one.
That's just the person you see on stage.
when you
Yeah.
actually enter the theater world,
And the 10
actors
people
are like
behind them.
the
Yeah.
last people
For
you think
each actor,
about
there's
when you're
two.
The
actually
lights
in the
and
world.
sound
you know?
work and everything else.
Yeah, totally.
Any idea? No.
So, okay, now obviously we've been going through a pandemic, right?
Hot
We've
topic of the last,
yeah,
you know,
hot topic.
year.
How have you been coping with this? What have you had to learn from this? How has school been going for you through this? Both now that we know that you are at UTRGV and AllStar Theatre, what has the pandemic done to you?
So, I feel like I've learned a lot about myself, and I think that everybody has definitely during this global pandemic. But specifically looking at like school, because I think that's like where I'm in what I'm in right now. I learned that I am not an online person. I don't do well online. I have learned that I like doing hybrid courses. So I find myself like I'm in class on Monday, and we get to answer the questions and we lecture and we get a good conversation going. And then on Wednesdays, I'll typically have like assignments or stuff. But like one of the really cool things that I've been trying to integrate is my love of podcasting.
I was telling them, I was like, he probably listens to more podcasts than all three of us combined.
I hardly listen
Oh
to
my
podcasts.
God, I can't stop.
You not only King of Coffee, now King of Podcasts. Like, you really do. No, really, because he's always like, I heard this podcast. And then, like, he'll tell us.
Everything is like a reference to a podcast.
And then, like, you've told us that you implemented it in your classroom.
Yes.
So, which I think is so cool because,
That's
like,
awesome.
what other, like, field to go into and as, like, a communication major, like, than podcasting. And it's
Yeah.
like, we were talking about Joe Rogan, like how he was the OG of just like doing it and like still doing it and now like making so much money from doing it. But yeah, like
hats off to Joe Rogan. This is
yeah,
a lot more difficult.
It's
than
not
we
easy,
make it
and
to.
you know we wanted to do this
And
just,
they give
for
him
the
a
sake
lot
of
of.
talking.
They really dog him for like having or like they think that he believes all these things. It's like no, he's just interested in like.
He asks
Yeah, he
questions.
asks
He asks questions.
questions.
He's
and-
not saying like I wholeheartedly believe in this. He's just interested in what people have to say.
And
So
I think
don't-
his conversations are the conversations that we should be
Yeah,
having. We should
exactly.
not be very segmented and we should not be very like one-sided.
Yeah.
We should be open to discourse and we should be open to, you know, seeing the other side of the wall. And I think that's my thing. But yeah, so integrating those podcasts in class, and I try to like have those like fun ones like con artists and stuff like that that like are very much applicable to like what we're learning in class. But the students are really loving it. There have been multiple students that are like, we want to start a podcast now as a result of this, which I'm like, very
Go for
cool.
it. Yeah.
Like,
Go for
so we're in conversations of like possibly starting a podcast course and stuff. So anyway, in that respect, seeing the students get excited about these things and also kind of learning, you know, what is on the way out. Because yesterday I was teaching and I was like, gosh, some of the theories that we're teaching right now are not going to last. Like we're not going to be able to continue teaching this. And even like the face of education is not going to be the same anymore. I mean, we constantly say I want things to go back to normal, but I think we can all attest to the fact that we're not going back to normal.
No.
I think we're going to have a new normal that's going to be very different, similar to what we experienced in the past, but also a little bit different. And so understanding how all these things are going to have to evolve, and we too will have to change with them. I think is one thing. So that's like my life at school. My life in theater right now has been very different. So I lost at this point in my like, and I don't mean to sound crass about this or anything, but like at this point in like the pandemic trajectory, 10 family members or friends or like loved ones that I care very deeply about to COVID-19. And I currently have 2 family members right now in the hospital with COVID-19 in the ICU. And I think I tell this story to my students because I let them know like, this is not a joke to me.
Yeah.
It's not a game and it's not a lie. This is a very real thing. And not only that, but I know countless others that have been infected with COVID-19, miraculously gotten out of it, thank God. But it's those things that it's like, those are the things that really like hit home for me. And so when we made the decision about like, well, what are we going to do about the show, first of all, because we were in the middle of doing Frozen, and we're still on hold. It's like the never-ending winter. It's very poetic justice with the show.
Frozen
but-
is frozen.
Yeah, Frozen's frozen for now. But and it's exciting, but it's also like insane to see the students, like you see your like little kids and all-star kids like at Target or whatever, and they're like a foot taller, and you're like, okay, so when we get back to do the show, we're definitely gonna have to find new costumes or like adjustments and stuff.
Because they grow so fast.
Yeah, they do. And it's like things that you just don't expect. So anyway, so we've been on hold at AllStar because I just cannot reconcile being the reason that a child gets infected with COVID-19 or God forbid something worse happens because as a result. And we don't have expansive spaces for our theater company. The unfortunate reality is that our space is still relatively small for the amount of students that we have coming through our program. And I wish that we could, but again, we go back to this whole funding thing. It's like you do with what you have because this is what you're given or this is what you're allowed to have, through whatever divine intervention you believe in. But you do what you can with it, you solve the problems, and then hopefully in the future something else will change, and that's my goal. Is hopefully we'll get to that point. So we've been on hold. Fingers crossed. Although everything, like I was like January is going to be our month, and then it's like 50% capacity and start like stuff going out as much, and so whatever. But fingers crossed. With the vaccine coming out and with people getting access and getting that herd mentality going, we will hopefully get back in session this spring, be able to do our show, and then hopefully summer we'll be able to have some really good summer camps, which I'm very excited about. We have like these two really phenomenal guest artists coming from New York City that have been on hold since last summer, but I'm ready to get them. And then I'm in talks with another guest artist who would be amazing to bring in. But that would be like after Thane and Tyler come in. So, I mean, I'm just like constantly trying to like find things to do and like fun stuff like that. But anyway, I'm one of those things. I think also just before I know I've talked for a million years.
No, that's the point.
But one thing that I think is so cool is that we have two students that participated in the Broadway B this year, which is Broadway Evolved, the B. And it is the coolest thing because they have like Andrew Rannells and I can't remember some of these like other amazing artists, but it was started by Betsy Wolfe, who was Jenna in Waitress. And she has all of these amazing connections with like these phenomenal Broadway performers. And so we have two All-Star students that were that submitted video auditions and were selected for it. And as a result, have been doing private lessons with Broadway performers like Betsy Wolfe and the guy who played Beetlejuice.
I
I can't remember his name.
don't know his name.
But anyway,
I see his picture. I see his face.
it's gonna Alex Brightman. So they've been doing private lessons with them consistently throughout the global pandemic, which is amazing. I mean, these are things that like, some students maybe would not have been able to do, and it saves you the money of going to New York City and staying there for a week, instead doing it from the luxury of your home, and then continuing these amazing connections beyond that program is still so cool. So I'm very proud of them, and I'm very proud that people have been looking for those types of avenues to be able to like continue their theatrical training.
And it's pretty awesome that these kids are getting this this exposure and this experience, because honestly, there's nobody down here doing that. And like, hats off to you for doing that, because I know that if I was in a program and whoever you brought down came and was like gonna teach me a dance and teach me how to sing and teach me, I'd be like, hell yes. You know? And these kids sometimes they don't know that it's this person. They just think it's like some tia or some tío or some friend,
It's my cousin.
Yeah, but it's like, dude, it's somebody really famous and you don't even know that they're they're helping you out.
I think the crazy thing was like Gianna. Gianna was in Mean Girls, didn't leave the show, but like took time off from the show to come and work with our students, and like flew back to New York and was on the stage that night in her role. And I was like, gosh, you guys don't get it. Like today she's here with you, but tomorrow she's on Broadway.
I
And
can
Like,
imagine
on the
you
stage.
with little kids going, guys, you don't understand. And then they're just like staring at you. Like,
yeah, Joel.
Mr.
right.
Joel. Mr.
Whatever,
Joel, why
Mr.
are
is
you
she being
crying?
Give me my picture, my signed picture, Mr. Joel. But yeah, so it's those things. But we're very lucky in that we have a very great team that are all kind of like aligned with my view of the company and understanding like, and you're right, Rob, like I think everybody understands that like if this program had been around when we were kids, it is a program that we would have wanted to be part of. And that's like the nucleus of AllStar Kids Club is that we wish this had been around for us, and therefore we want to create this for the kids of the Valley today. And that's what we want to do.
Yeah, because I feel like, okay, the Valley itself is very closed to theater.
Yeah.
Right? It's new. It's something that that the Valley has not experienced at all. Or at least to its fullest,
Yeah, it's
right?
grown, though.
But
It's
we're
grown.
growing, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like we are like here are the ones bringing the theater down. And there was a couple friends of mine that it's just like, oh, I want to go over here and I want to go over there and I'm going to do theater outside of here because there's nothing in the Valley. But we are the ones creating it
Yeah.
because we couldn't do it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's just like,
Exactly.
why go away?
that's always been my thought too.
Yeah,
Like,
why go
this place
away?
is never gonna grow if everybody just keeps leaving.
Leaving.
And why are you gonna go shove yourself somewhere where everybody and their mother is already there and has been there?
On top of
You
another
know,
little apartment.
Yeah, like
paying
build something
$2,000.
new. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess I get it. It's not for everyone. Building something new is not for everyone. And that's what I love about theater is that everybody has like a different goal or a different, like they're doing it for different reasons. Like they're
Yes.
involved. Because like I just figured out for me that I do theater because I really like kind of like probing the human condition and like the human psyche and just discovering why people do the things that they do.
Yeah.
And theater's a really good medium for doing that. And also, I like making cool stuff and making stuff look cool.
Yes.
Those are literally the two things that I boiled it down to. I'm not into like, I want to go be famous on Broadway. Like,
Right.
for me, that's not, I don't
No.
really, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
I do it for personal like growth and I get to share with other people.
Yeah.
But mostly it's because of those two things. And I've learned so much. Like you learn how to read people and read situations
Yes.
when
Oh
you're
my
involved
God.
in all this.
You-
People don't understand that. Me and Robert sometimes spend like when we're out, I mean back before COVID, right? We'd be out and we'd be analyzing people in public and like breaking them down by like what they're wearing.
We just
how
go
they're
buy a
behaving.
drink
Their weight
Yeah.
and then
It's like, okay, I theorize that this person is this type of person who's been in this situation.
We make
blah,
up
blah, blah,
stories.
blah, blah. Yeah, and we're probably pretty spot on.
Accurate.
You
Do,
know?
do you ever like try to lock eyes with people? I feel like people don't look at each other in the eyes anymore. So
They
like
don't.
in public, like I'll
Yeah.
try to like not exactly what you guys do, but I also see where their eyes are at.
Yeah.
Like, are you on your phone, which is majority of the people?
Yeah.
Are you
And
looking down?
drivers.
Are you looking? Yes. Yes. Are you looking
scary.
down? Are you looking up? Are you looking around? Are you looking forward?
Yeah, you watch people and
Yes.
see what
And
they're
then like
doing.
the people that are normally looking forward and looking around are the people that I lock eyes with, and I'm like.
yeah.
You're like me,
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
looking around, not
You're-
just like
You're actually
aware.
in
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
There's
You're here,
entertainment
you're
everywhere.
now. Yeah.
yeah,
No,
like,
totally.
yeah, like what you're saying. Like I think about it, and it is in a sense of like we play dress up every day, whether
Yeah.
we're the one being dressed or the one dressing. You know, like from like lights and the camera and the this and like the just everything. It's
Yeah.
just
That's like what I always tell you guys. It's
Theater.
like doing theater is we're playing pretend, but
Yeah,
it's like coming
there
from
you
a
go.
very real place.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like this whole like what did I get into? It was like it's like when they say that we're in a simulation, that whole theory about how this is a simulation. We're doing a simulation
yeah,
Yeah.
we do.
ourselves
Every
and
time.
playing, like doing these things and learning how to like behave and act. And
Yes, and we
how
have
to-
a certain time that we go
Yeah.
at, and we know that we all need to be in places
very
at a
blue
certain
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and then we do the thing, and
Yeah.
it's like a little factory machine. Like it's
Just keeps going.
never
It
ending.
all works together.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I really appreciate that. Like, there's still us
Yeah.
here that are trying to
Totally.
grow the theater, grow our audiences, grow what ultimately the Valley hasn't really experienced to its fullest,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and
We're getting there.
I
and
will.
like
We
now,
will.
like
This
it's
is
so
the only
exciting that we
area
have the
it's growing
pack.
in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Just the
think
impact
back
itself.
to how when AllStar started
Yeah.
to now. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like yes, the studio is small, but it's still so big to me personally.
big, goal.
Because we didn't have that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
when
because
we
you
started.
weren't there.
Yeah.
Now
Exactly.
you're there. Now it's like, okay,
Yes.
well now we need to this, you know,
Yeah.
and
So
it's just like
it's
And,
a
yeah.
very like
despacito.
it's like
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, like, and it matter
are
of what,
happening.
6-7 years already.
Yeah. We're almost, I mean, we're almost at 10
Yeah.
in the next 2 years.
Yes.
So,
Wow.
It's like 8
next year,
now.
really, but yeah.
Yes.
I always explain AllStar as like a toddler. It's like my child, and I'm holding it,
It
and it
was.
wants to run away and get bigger, but I'm like, no, just stay right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
calm
and
down,
then those,
you're okay.
those kids that we had from day one.
Oh my
you know,
gosh,
that
yeah.
we see now, and it's like,
We're graduating from high
Oh
school.
my God, you're
And
driving.
like,
I mean,
it's scary.
Danny was in one of
Yeah.
your first
Yes.
productions.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so
So-
now AllStar started doing stuff with adults
Yeah.
and adult show, not like adult,
No.
but for adults. Now you work with kids. Are you ever gonna go back to trying stuff with adults, more adult shows?
I've always said that I want to. I want to get back to doing adult shows. And we've had conversations every once in a while where it's like, let's do this show, or like, let's bring
did.
adults in, or whatever.
and
then it like,
plays,
and plays,
you know,
yeah.
not
and
musicals,
plays,
like
yeah.
plays that we've talked about.
Because honestly, I still remember when you guys did House of Bernardo Alba,
Oh, it was
and I
awesome.
honestly loved that show so much.
beautiful.
I thought it
It's
was
such
so
a
beautiful.
cool show.
And
It
I
was
love that
so
you did it in
minimalistic.
Spanish.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because these things that like you don't realize, like you read House of Bernardo Alba in English in school, and you're like, okay, whatever, right?
Cool.
But then you listen to
She
it in
crazy.
Spanish, and you actually feel like, I mean, if you understand Spanish, right?
Yeah.
You actually feel what it was really
Yeah.
Yeah.
talking about, and it's a whole new experience.
Yeah.
And you're like, I've seen it both in English and in Spanish, and let me tell you, you gotta
But-
watch it in Spanish if
Yes.
you understand
but
Spanish.
isn't Spanish just itself just more serious?
Yeah.
Isn't
And
the
beautiful.
tone of it?
It's
just
it's much more emotional. I feel.
Yeah.
I feel like English is kind of watered down when it
It
comes
is.
to emotions. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
logical and
Yeah.
very like And when it's like that, like, it's usually the Latin languages, right? Like the French and Italian and Spanish,
Spanish,
that have
yeah.
Poetic.
poetic and all that heavy feeling kind of language,
Yeah.
And
now I want to
you-
go and like just put I hope there's like an audio of it somewhere. I want to hear it.
I think we
again.
do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we have like a copy of it. But
be
that
awesome.
show
Oh, that
would be
definitely
amazing. I hope
had
we can share it.
such like a
'Cause it was here.
cool-
Did you
yeah.
record
It was
it?
in the black box.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Carlos recorded it.
It was.
I'm
I
more
love
than
that
sure
one.
he did.
I'm still like, I love that one.
Yeah, it was a very cool, and that was the cool thing was that like the black box was
We did it
still
here.
very
Yes.
new.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it at
I was a
SCC.
student. I was a student here still.
It was cool though, and I loved it. And the cool thing about that was that, on the note about learning this in school, we were able to perform it at my old high school, PSJ North, and they brought in the Spanish AP students to be able to watch it live, which was very cool because it's something that like they have to read, and a lot of them did attest to the fact that like they now understood what the emotion was behind some of these things.
And also, where did you find these women? I'm like, who are they? They
my
were
gosh.
so good.
There
They
is.
were amazing, especially the woman who played Bernarda.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
God.
she's phenomenal. She's such a talent. And like so many of those girls were, and a lot of those girls, the sad thing is like they really don't have those opportunities. Like they
Yeah.
have this like hidden talent.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in the Valley do, but because predominantly we do English language theater, because a lot of it is associated with the education system. We don't really get to like let those people out of their box.
That's a good point to bring up. Maybe
I've
that's
been
something that,
actually
to dabble in.
to me like I've been wanting to do a Spanish show.
Yeah.
Like I really have. It's just finding one that is
appropriate.
for our groups,
Yeah.
like for our audience. Because that's something that like even just like reading Jose Rivera and like
I love
all
Jose
of
Rivera.
these
I know.
Hispanic authors, it's just like or playwrights, just I want to see what else is out there because I have.
He doesn't
been
write in
wanting-
Spanish, though, does he?
No.
No, he doesn't.
No. But like just
Yeah.
these playwrights that I would love to explore and do something here that's out of the ordinary, right? Like Spanish, you know,
Yeah.
and doing something like that.
It's different and it would be really cool and
Yeah.
it's very applicable to our area. Because I think like our audiences have evolved. Because when Dr. Monta like started UTPA theater and like kind of like catapulted that, and then like the high school, like Gilbert Cepeda at PSG
Yeah.
North and like the other locals, like
Yeah.
a lot of their theater was done for the Winter Texans because they were the ones who typically always go to shows. But we don't have as many Winter Texans anymore.
Oh, all of those trailer parks have gone. Like,
Yeah.
And
there's very
I was
few.
telling them that I don't think that Winter Texans are going to be a thing in the future because these are the last people that are able to afford a house
Up in the
and
north.
to come and stay
to
somewhere else.
travel.
We can't afford that anymore.
Nobody can
They're
afford
not.
that.
It's not going to be a thing anymore. We have to like kind of.
And that's where we have to pull in our audiences,
Yeah.
right? And see
Yeah.
the other side of what we have, which is all of the machismo, like very, very Hispanic, Christian, Catholic oriented people that live down here that we have to find a way to like lure them into the theater, but the only way to do that is like by making a play that's about like the cartel, and you have like you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
this very, very overly dramatic like
And we actually
play.
talk very much about
Yeah.
what we're gonna do for the year back when it was normal, right?
Yeah.
Because we say like, okay, we need to do a show to pull in these people.
Yeah.
We need to do a show that is known.
Yeah.
We need to do a show, blah blah blah. And it's like it's hard because you have to keep doing that if you want to build, like
Yes.
doing shows that you don't necessarily want to do, but you got to bring the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every now and then you're like, who cares? I'm gonna do one for me, and then
Yeah.
nobody comes, and you're like, but it's fine because you got to do
that was
you
always
know.
the struggle with the adult
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
I know that, like, you know, with the kids, it's like,
And that's what's so genius about it. Is you went the way that you knew
To
it
keep
was-
it going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Kids.
the only
Exactly.
way. Because the I love doing the adult shows.
Yes,
In fact,
and
and
I
we
miss
have
them.
like
The adult.
That sounds so
I know,
rated
I know.
R.
yeah,
We don't mean it like that.
but
I mean like not kids.
With adult people.
but
Wait,
yeah,
what?
doing the shows with adults was like a cool thing. And I think now, having forged a relationship with like the PAC to be able to possibly one day
Yeah.
do a show in the McAllen Performing Arts Center with adults would be very cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So I hope to get there one day. I have like lots of like little goals in mind for like things that I want the theater company to be able to like do, and then like have certain traditions that happen like annually. But
see, like with the pack, coming back to the pack, not like, do you think that because of everything and all the touring companies that used to come through the pack, like, do you think like our community will benefit from the pack? Like, do you think there should be more of like a, like, do you get what I'm trying to say? Because
like
those
a
companies
utilization
are
of
going,
it. Yeah.
they're like,
So,
what
like,
are
maybe
they,
the
what are they
utilization.
doing? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, who are they letting like come into their stage? I know, obviously, you're not going to just let anyone, but like, I
But, like,
think that's
yeah.
a perfect opportunity for them to like collaborate more with people
With
that
local.
are from
Locals.
the local, like,
Yeah.
so that like they can still stay in business,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of, you know, performing arts.
Because
types
with
of
enough money
companies
and enough
here.
support, we can put on really quality shows
Yes, we
in the
can.
pack.
Yes,
But
we can.
obviously, we don't have the support or the
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
But
'Cause,
who
like,
else are they bringing in right
I
now?
don't know. Nope,
You know
nobody.
what I mean? Like,
Nobody.
I don't think they
Nobody.
are, right?
No, I don't think so. I think the only people that I've
John
seen
Milton. That's what I
I mean, because he's
Always,
one
right?
person, and then they'll sit six people,
But
like six
see,
people, six
that's
to
John
the
Milton
bar.
is like
Look,
Cher. Like will always be here.
Like Cher. Oh my god.
I don't know.
But yes,
that
I
just
get what
came
you
to my
mean.
mind,
And you're right.
Because I was talking to Ileana about it, because, you know, she works for the dance center.
Dance center.
And when I saw that they were performing at the pack, I was like, whoa, like, wow. And also
who's
just
back?
like tear for AllStar, because like
Yeah.
we were gonna perform that, right? And then it just got me thinking, like, wait, like, if no touring companies or, I don't know, John Milton's out there,
I saw the sign yesterday. I was like, oh,
You
is
know.
he back?
Always.
or what's that other? Oh, not even. I don't even think they would come. But the dancing one.
Oh yes, the Shang Li.
Oh, Chen Yu.
Shin Yu.
No,
Yes.
it's a beautiful
Marcy never
show,
took
by the
me.
way.
It's
but-
too
Which-
expensive.
I hear great things about it,
yeah.
but
Yeah, I hear it's amazing, but it's like I'm not gonna spend close to $200
It was amazing. I got lucky.
to go see it.
Zara was working it. He said, "Do you want to go?" I was like, "Why not?"
I've been wanting
It
to.
was, you know what made that show? And back to what we were talking
And
about.
people apparently they
The
keep coming, so
LED
people are
screen.
going.
So people are going.
LED
The
screen.
LED screen
yeah.
made
Dude,
that show.
yeah.
Back to what we were saying. Like,
we were literally
need
talking to
to-
Jason
like,
about
the
like getting
way-
an LED screen.
Oh my
just-
God.
Since we can't go back, we
Yeah.
can't go up, we can't go left, we can't go right.
Yeah. So make it work.
I mean, well, Frozen. That was.
Yeah,
the
that's
plan.
that was
It
our goal, and
it was
still
our
is our goal.
It just elevates.
Yeah, it just
Totally.
changes everything. But that's also the future of Broadway. You go watch a Broadway show. I mean, Mean Girls had very minimal set, like the lockers would come in or
Right.
the lunch tables,
Desks,
but like it was a wall of LED screens, and they
Smart.
had like it was almost like the movie, like when the bus came through and hit Regina George, it goes across the screen, and like
Wow.
there was some really cool
Just
things.
panels
and
of LEDs, and that's it.
there's so many shows that are going that way.
I mean, since we're there, we're talking about the future, right? So, what do you think the future of theater is?
You know, I think in many ways it's evolved from the original inception. I think we'll always go back. I want to say that. We will always go back to doing theater on a stage for an audience, but
Traditional.
I think, yeah, the traditional way, but I think we've started seeing these like new experiences with theater. First of all, I've seen some really great stuff happening pre-pandemic to in the Black Box, which I love. And I feel like people have always like downplayed the Black Box, or even like a theater like UTRGV's Thrust, where people are like, oh, that's not really theater. And I wrote like a whole paper in my master's class because that was the origin of theater. The Thrust stage, or doing stage in and around people, are the
says
original.
that's not really theater?
Yeah, because
That's
I know
ridiculous.
exactly.
What do you
Because
mean?
people see like a proscenium and they're like, "That's Broadway. That's a theater," and it's just like theater is everything and anything. I mean,
Yeah.
it can be anything. It can happen in a field like Teatro Campesino, or it can happen
True.
in an actual like Broadway stage. It doesn't have to be, on a proscenium. And so anyway, I've seen those experiences kind of get popular and kind of come back, which have been really cool. But then during the pandemic, we've seen these things like Ratatouille, which was like a fully TikTok-based musical that suddenly became like a whole thing on to be able to like raise money for Broadway Cares, I think, which is very cool. And then you see all of these actors a little bit different, like having these moments like in their homes or whatever. But some of them went full like costume and like got into character and all that stuff. So that was very cool. And then you've seen like other instances where people have been doing things via video, still making theater accessible, which I think is probably like the most exciting thing, is that theater should be accessible. It's been like my philosophy to always have an opportunity for theater to be accessible, whether it be through money or whether it be through experiences. And like with the AllStar Kids Club shows, we always work with the Boys and Girls Club of McAllen to bus in kids to our Saturday matinee show, just to be able to like provide this free of cost for them to be able to watch a show. Because some of these kids, and we talk about this with the Boys and Girls Club, some kids don't get the opportunity to walk into the McAllen Performing Arts Center. And some kids don't get the opportunity to watch a show. And so someday, and I often see myself in that group, someday there might be a kid in there that just says like, I want to do that, and I'm going to do that when I get to high school or whatever, or I'm not going to be afraid of that. And so that's what we want to do. We want these kids to constantly be able to like find a new way to be able to express themselves and not be ashamed of the fact that like they want to do theater, or participate in some form or fashion.
I'm not gonna lie, I loved when we would be in school, like in elementary, and we would be going to the high schools
Those are
to
the
go
best.
see one of the plays. Like, my God, I would like,
I never forget
you know,
those trips too.
my little theatrical heart was like thumping. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, totally.
And we didn't have very many theatrical experiences other than what you saw. And I feel like the children's shows at PSJA really did
Pushed
kind of
it.
like lay the
Yeah.
groundwork for that, because it really just pushed
five.
the boundary of imagination.
High five, Joe.
Yeah. But it was that. It was those moments of like getting excited, because I didn't know what theater was. I still remember my very first show was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I was a kid, and my mom, I was like I'm assuming it was when I was in pre-K because I was with my mom at work and those were half days. So I'm assuming my mom had like taken me out or like picked me up from school at noon and then like taken me with her to work and took me to go see the show at the Osadome.
Oh,
And I just remember seeing like the kid who's playing Augustus Gloop like sitting on the edge of the stage and like eating his chocolate and like the things happening around him and just thinking like, this is cool. Like I love it.
I want chocolate.
So cute. Yeah, I probably wanted chocolate. But from that, and then it was like every year, like clockwork at Christmas, it was like, I want to go see the children's show. And it happened every year. And so being part of that program was very cool as well. But then also just like knowing that was kind of like what catapulted all of that was just the most exciting thing. Yeah. So anyway.
Now, is there any advice that you would like to give to our future thespians?
I want to say that there is no right or wrong way to do anything theater related. I feel like, even myself included, like creating AllStar, I did it the way that I thought it was supposed to be done, and then I made sure that I got it done correctly. But it was that stuff that was like, how do we do this? And like, how do you? And nobody teaches you these things. It's like learning how to pay your taxes, right? So in that respect, I was like, how are we going to go about like making a theater company work in the Valley? And how do we go about like getting the people excited about this? And people did. I mean, that was the thing. And so my advice to people would be, don't be afraid to try things. I think when Dr. Monta passed, I reread Herstory, which is like the theater history book of the UTPA, PAU theater department. And there's like a whole second section of the book that's just Dr. Monta talking about like her experiences. And I thought the coolest things were like she brought in Sardi from Sardi's restaurant in New York City to cater the dinner of the very opening show, which was Man of La Mancha at Pan American University. Wow. He catered the dinner. He brought in all these really cool like matchbooks and like those little like cool like 60s, 70s like things that you would get at restaurants and stuff. He brought in some of the caricature pictures that are like famous in Sardi's. He created Sardi's and in Edinburgh, and nobody knows this. Like, wow. And he made the dinner himself, etc. And so like, I think I take that lesson and I think like, okay, Dr. Monta was a force to be reckoned with, first and foremost. But she was also, we forget, a woman. Yeah. And those things would be phenomenal for anybody to do. But the fact that Dr. Monta did it as a woman.
In that time,
just had freshly graduated from Cornell, first woman with a PhD from that school, and created these like amazing experiences in a little place called Edinburgh, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley, is just like exciting to me because it just says like, that's how theater works in the Valley. Yeah. You have to shake it up. You have to do things differently. You have to be able to like think out of the box and to be able to create things that are not get created around you. And I love what Marcy said because like, it's true. If you really want the opportunity to do something cool, then go into the theater because you'll get to create the world that you want to see.
Exactly.
And that happens on the stage and in the community because those are the things that like, again, we have those opportunities. And that's like my whole thing with like AllStar. We bring in these people from New York City. Yeah. They teach these classes. They work with the kids. They get them excited. I mean, we had Gianna speak to the parents of one little girl that was like, this girl needs to go to Broadway. Like she's ready. She's prepped. She needs to start. And she has kept that relationship with them. It wasn't just like fluff, you know, like she has kept in contact with them, worked on getting bios, worked on making those connections a reality for that student. And that's the thing. It's like these things have to be like the things that we do for the Valley to be able to put ourselves on the mark. I mean, if Donald Trump is coming down here to look at his wall, for crying out loud, we can do cooler things to make ourselves known. Seriously. You know what I mean? Everybody's talking about that right now. Let's do some cooler things to get ourselves put on the map.
Yeah, interesting. It's I completely agree.
Very well
said. Thank you so much, Joel, for taking the time to hanging out with us here in the theater, in the audience.
I love it. I'm glad to be back in a theater.
Right? Isn't it nice?
It's always nice.
Totally. all this feedback and all this conversation just really shows and how much theater is growing down here and how much we're pushing more of our careers, because I think of it now, it's just like, this is my career. This isn't just a job. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
yes.
Because people are like, oh, what's your job? It's like, well, my career is this. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just a part-time job that I go and clock in and out for. Like, I
You're
have a
passionate
career.
about this.
You know?
And you probably do this when you're off the clock too anyway.
I mean,
So
we do.
Yeah, totally. But yeah.
it's a passion, Rob.
Yeah, totally. For those of you viewing and watching us and hearing us, listening, please check out AllStar Theatre. They have a webpage and all that good stuff. And Instagram. We also, please like us, share our Facebook, share our Insta, share our YouTube. And thank you so much for all of you guys hearing us out and giving back to the arts. We are slowly being lost, but we're trying to keep it going, and we will keep it going and move forward. Any last statements, y'all?
No, I want to just piggyback off of that, Rob. You're right. Like, we will keep going. I think this is a testament to the fact that we are going to find new ways of doing old things, but make it cool and fun, and make it accessible, which is the coolest thing about this type of program. So
definitely.
Thank you guys for doing something cool. And again, you all thinking out of the box and doing something different and making it a unique experience for your listeners and for us.
Yeah, totally. Thank you, guys.
Be safe, everyone.
Like everything.
Thank you.
Wear your masks.